Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 5. I understand everyone's gotten some work done on the HTML assignment, which is due at the end of this week. And things seem to be going along pretty well. And I hear and am responding to your frustration if there is any. So please continue to engage me. I'm happy to help you with HTML. I think a few things that might have gotten lost. So let me just go over to look at the mural. There we go. So one thing that might have gotten lost, I'll just pick one at random, which is don't worry about the site. And all I'm interested in is this. In fact, I probably won't ever look at how it looks. So if you're concerned about how it looks, take a step back for a minute. The goal of this is really to talk about semantic meaning of the tags that you choose. Now, semantic meaning, what is that? Well, that's why you're doing this, and it's not, in a sense, a front-end coding job. We're not looking to build an interface. We're looking to identify what is the meaning behind particular elements of our data, which are more important than others. That's the whole goal. So if I see that here, I'm happy because the reason I'm adding this is how the web sees your content anyway, and without any thought being added to what tags are used, the net itself, and I can call that Google, doesn't have any idea what your content is. And that is, I think, not good. I think having some thought to how others see your work is actually how some of these really cool things happen. So the people that I'm still curious how Murally figured out that John Williams should be used as the pitcher for this. So I guess I could go figure that out, but basically it found this data in there and it said, okay, I'm going to use that data, that picture, to create this thumbnail. So it's really how another site sees your content, which I think is vital. And it's also, I think, a great exercise for you because, in a sense, I'm not looking for perfect code or anything that looks good. Again, I'm not even looking at it. I'm just looking for the tags that you've chosen. So for this week, we're going to kind of step forward just a slight bit. And let's see if I can use this example. Some of you have already given some thought to this. So the goal of this week is this thing right here. Now, well, let's not call it exactly this thing. So what I'm looking for is how have you been able to understand patterns within your data that would allow someone to come up with something like a category. So if we go back to week 1 where you're searching using a hashtag, that's a one-to-one relationship. So I can just say, give me everything that has this hashtag. But if I wanted to say, like for example, price might be a good one. That's a variable. So the price can be from some amount to another amount. So that's a really interesting way to look at your data. I want to sort it by price. So I would say absolutely if you're doing anything that's involving money or cost, that you're trying to look for a continuum where I can say, yeah, some of the major elements that you're going to use to navigate or understand this information is 1, 2, or 3 fields. I mean, I don't think that navigation tends to be more than that. It tends to be the most important areas. So if you are looking at, hopefully I'm making sense, if you're looking at something like song title isn't a really good way to search because it's a completely random thing. Artist, if you have several artists, might be a good organizing principle. So the idea is organizing principles. So right now, if you look at our lecture for this week, we're going to call it taxonomies. This is nomenclature used to organize large amounts of data. And so there's some few ideas here. I think it's too big of a subject for us to become experts in because it has to do a lot with library science and some other things where we're just going to brush on it. But as an information architect, we're lucky. We can kind of look at something and say, here's the major groupings. These are things that are going to be the most useful for people to be able to get around and to sort and filter our data from. And sooner or later, we're going to get to navigation patterns. So I just want to be clear, next week, we're really going to talk more about navigation. This week, I would just want to sort of get a feeling for those categories. If I went back, the example that I was just showing, and everyone seems to have already done this, so that's fine. Like these categories, you may be done. I think there are probably fewer of these, and you might want to give it some more thought. So I do have a couple of exercises. I want you to continue to work on your HTML, make it as meaningful as possible. I'm going to have a Blue Jeans session this week, or you can just give me a call if you want me to walk you through how I would mark it up. I can give you a small example. This will come into play a little bit later, but I have a database here which I'm trying to mark up meaningfully, and in this program I can show you that some familiar elements might be here. So let's just take a look. So these styles, where's my styles? There we go. So you might start to recognize there's headers, there's header 1s, there's header 2s, there's boxes. So these would almost go hand in hand with your tags. And then I can say, in a sense, what they look like. So we'll get there. This is going to be several weeks or a couple weeks from now. But what's more important is my data. So this actually, I was kind of telling you, allows me to go in and take my database, and I can just assign an element of my database to a part of my, my wireframe here. So it's pretty neat. Again, we're going to get here sooner or later, but just let you know there is a method to this. So coming up with what are the tags help us build the list here of how we're going to mark this up. Date, picture, etc. You know, all those tags that you're going to use create this structure. And then how it looks and how it's arranged, well, we're going to get to that. So preview, sorry, going back to preview, the only goal for this week is what are the organizing elements. So one of the, I think it's going to be kind of a fun activity this week, or meaningful activity, is to think about your computer, and I've got my computer here. So I'm talking about organizational methodologies. So there's a lot of attributes to every file on your computer, and I've got a couple starting here. What I'm looking at is just to go in and list in your mind, and we'll do it all as a group, so if you can put in one and then wait for other people, or you can put them all and we can try to arrange these in some way of what do you think are the most effective ways. So we might start here, so if you can do this early in the week, kind of throw out a few organizing principles. And then we'll work together to do some sort of a synthesis on this. So I've got some easy ones, right? So name of the file, I guess, is a way of organizing it. And I've got another one called date created. So I want everybody to go in and just sort of start to look at attributes on your computer that are used to organize things. So if you looked on your computer, you might find that a lot of things are organized by containing folder. And this is where you can start to see some of the difficulties of how we architect things. So does something have meaning because it's physically in a particular place, or is that data in the data itself? And I think everybody might be able to realize that containing folder isn't a very good organizational system because it's very inflexible. And that really, if you want to get at the goal of this week, it's to think about that. Can we get data that's actually in this file, like for example, date created, size, or what's even better is tags. And that's where Twitter sort of came in with tags. People tend to not tag the files on their computer, but if they did, it would make for much better, more robust finding. However, they still try to do that, just like Google tries to find things. So it can find things based on name, which again is very hard to find. So you could do the same example if you tried to find something like an email. Emails to me are, again, another terrible way to organize information. All you know is that, well, somebody wrote me something, and I can remember that person, and I can kind of remember the subject matter. So that's the goal of this week. Can we think of data that's within our data structure, or if we want to just pretend, we can add it. So if you wanted to kind of go into your data and pretend there's a category field, then we can say, okay, this is how I'm going to organize my data so that it knows where it could go within particular situations of looking, finding, searching, organizing. So that's the whole goal, and it's going to be the very top part of your deliverable this week. It's going to be sort of the header, if you want to call it the navigation. Right now, we're still going to learn much more about navigation. So while some of the writings talk about navigation, that's where it's leading. That isn't the that's where we're going, but you don't have to figure out a navigation style yet. We're going to do a lot more of that next week. Hopefully that makes sense. Please comment. Please get started early as you can so that I can give you more feedback. But everything seems to be going well. And I said I'll have a video session midweek for one-on-ones and more questions. So have fun this week.